All right, we'll call the November Parks and Rec Commission meeting to order. First order of business is the meeting minutes from our work session on October 6th.
Do we have enough to vote on stuff?
I think so. We're at 5, and we have 9 members. Now we're at 6.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of October 6th.
I'll second.
Any corrections, comments, discussion? All those in favor of approving the work session minutes from October 6th, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you again, Eric. DPRC financial update. Sorry.
Hey. Sorry, I had to get dinner ready. Let me see, I sent this out and I sent it out late. I apologize because I just got it early this morning. So I don't know if everyone got a chance to see it, so I'll share over here. For the month, there was a little over $2,000 loss, as expected in areas like the admin and equipment, facilities, vehicles, that kind of stuff. After school was brought in about $5,000 for the month to offset anything, so that's for the month. And then year to date, we're in a relatively good position still. About $77,000 is the balance in the 80 fund, and year to date, we're still in about little under $11,000 gain, mainly due to after school and summer camp and things like that, with offsets in admin and equipment. There are a couple of new lines on here, one for Joe Stone, so we could see the balance of that fund, and then the ice rink. So
That's
thank
nice.
you to Pete.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you to Pete.
Yeah.
Comments, questions?
Nick, is everything in for soccer already?
Should be now, yeah.
I wouldn't think so, though, because it's in a pretty,
Yep, we didn't have refs at the end of the year, last week.
Refs would be the last thing, because that just got paid. And we actually still have to pay the last week of officials too,
Okay.
second to last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still, so that means, I mean, even after officials, it's still 7,000 in the black this year.
We'll have to dive into it and just make sure that that's accurate.
but remember, it started at, where it started.
Oh, so I was looking at the P and L though, not balance to
Oh,
date.
okay, yeah,
Balance to date's 12 grand,
yes, yeah.
for
year
the
to date.
account, and
Yep.
year to date P and L
Yeah,
is
that's why I was
71.
wondering if everything wasn't in, because that's a lot.
It is. So the water bottles didn't come in. They didn't ship them, is that right?
Correct.
And so that didn't happen. Parents donated most of the food for the barbecue. We ended up buying some burgers, which I found out from the Lion. He said, next year, tell me, I'll donate them. I guess they have extras usually after the fair.
Okay.
And then we just did balls for the pre-KK. We didn't do coach training or ref training this year, just kind of transitioning. So there was a lot, I mean, but that's still $1,000 for coach training, $1,000 for ref training. The big thing's balls, that's usually like 2,500. That's a lot.
Did the concessions bring anything over, or did it break even?
Yeah, I think it was like a few $100, which is better than nothing.
And that
that's
goes
kind of what
into
we
that
counted
line?
on to offset the.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
I mean, we could go through and look at where we thought things were gonna be and where they actually were and
Right. Yeah,
adjust.
that's what I figured. We'd put it off to December and take a really close look at it before we talk too much about it, but this is where we just ended, and we put the survey out too.
You already put that out?
Yeah, I had Eric send it out the other day.
I'll send you a copy.
Anything else on money? After-school clubhouse update.
So not too many changes, still averaging 40 to 50 kids a day in after school. I did want to highlight the job that Deb and the staff did on the Halloween dance. I thought that was really awesome. Friday, October 22nd, we held that, and 89 kids showed up, grades 3 through 5. So I thought it was a huge success. I think Eric can attest to that too. The kids had a blast, and the setup was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
brought
she
in
did
some
a
money, too.
really nice job. I drove by and saw it. She did a really good job.
Yeah.
So I don't know who helped her, if it was all her, but whoever did, kudos, that was great.
It was definitely a group effort, a lot of decorating. We had, I think, 7 or 8 staff there that night to make sure that everything was good in the
Right.
dark. But yeah, it worked out really well, so we'll be looking to do it again in the future.
Awesome. Ice rink?
Yeah, ice rink and money at the same time. Do you know if we have the $100 from the women's club in there? 500 from Focus?
I don't know if that hit yet, Jeff, but we did get the check for the women's club, and Focus was 500, you said?
Yeah.
I think that hit already, toward the 1,000,
Okay.
because we bought the liner, right? And then what
Was
did we raise in the
500.
GoFundMe?
I
Thir-
thought it was 1,100, so we might not have the women's club in, because the balance
Okay.
was 1,000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the women's club check may have just not hit yet.
All right, we'll make sure we send thank you notes out too.
Absolutely.
Ice rink, it's all roughed out right now, and Friday, I'm gonna go down Friday afternoon, hopefully Nick and Eric will get the machine, the mower down there and rake it out a little bit more, just to smooth stuff out. But we got a nice big flat area.
Yeah, I saw it today, it looks good.
Yeah, I have had a complaint this afternoon. I got a call from John Harrington that someone was complaining about it, but
Complaining
It's
you're
too
doing
bad.
it, or?
yeah, we couldn't do that. We weren't allowed to do it, but. So somebody said, did you go to the public hearing? And they didn't know about the public hearing. And so anyhow, doesn't matter.
Well, for the record, we're gonna seed it in the spring, and it will be,
Next year at this time,
Gorgeous.
it'll look beautiful. Well, we did
have to take
move
a
it,
step back to go 4 steps forward.
we did move it more to the center of the area. So actually, it's gonna be centered on the gazebo. So it'll be kind of cool. But the reason was when we get down there with the laser, Mark Young was down there and he said, you don't have enough material to do it over by the poles like we thought. And he picked the flattest area we could find, and that's where we laid it out. And I'm pretty sure that, I wasn't there when he finished it, but he was gonna lay it out so it's basically 140 feet flat. So we'll be able to put one rink and then the rink right behind it,
Good.
or add on to that rink, so.
Good.
So we'll get it smoothed out a little bit more. We could put the rink on it now, it's not that bad, but we'll get some of the big chunks and stuff out and cleaned up. And I don't know what we want to do about setting up the rink as far as the date. I know you had mentioned this coming weekend, which isn't gonna happen. but-
Right.
And I was thinking, I saw Sitting with Santa's the Saturday or Sunday after Thanksgiving, right? So I think we either have to plan to rope that area off, or maybe not, maybe frozen enough it won't matter, or have the rink set up.
Right.
They don't want people tracking through mud and stuff if it isn't frozen. So I had thought about maybe the weekend before Thanksgiving to try setting the rink up.
The 20th
Is that what it
or
is?
21st?
21st. I just was,
That's okay with me.
What about, next weekend,
we could do next, or the,
15th?
yeah. I mean, I don't think it's too early to set it up.
No, I think you just don't drop in the liner
Right,
until
set the
maybe.
boards and stuff
Yeah.
up.
Just need to keep blowing out the leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can leave the leaves under the liner too, if we don't have the liner in yet. So what are people's thoughts about
I'm
setup?
fine either of those weekends. The 20th might be better for me schedule-wise, but I don't bring all that much except for a body to the table.
It's the knowledge. You were there.
Well,
Amy, what do you think? Any
preference, how do you guys?
preferences?
I think we could go.
Would you rather do it on a Friday so that it's not a day back in town for you?
I mean, if people could do it a Friday, we could do it a Friday, for sure. Whenever we can get the help. I mean, it's gonna be what do we think we need?
I think we said like 4 to 6, like wouldn't need more than
Right.
that. And we need what for, like a sledgehammer for the
Mhm.
rebar stuff?
Yeah.
Like get an equipment list together?
Yeah, I'll have to think about that, what we need. Yeah, he had a rubber mallet is what he used to
Okay,
drive in those. And we have a few that are, gonna have to use the reinforcing rod, so that'll be more of a sledgehammer.
Do you know what it's like under the field? You think it's rock or you think it's soft enough?
When I was watching him grade it out, I saw these boulders come popping out.
Well,
It's
anytime I dig in
Deerfield.
my yard, that's what happens, and so I was just
I
thinking.
think we'll be okay because the brackets only have to go in like that far. And I think we'll be all right with that. And it won't be frozen, so it should go in fairly easy. Shouldn't say that.
Hopefully.
We just may need to buy some additional rods, right? Perhaps.
Yeah, did we keep all the ones?
I don't think we used them all last year. Remember, you had run to buy some and we didn't end up using them all.
We have
We still-
those,
I
right?
think we still have those. Yeah.
Well, we talked about this, about, if you've got that bracket sitting on, a fair amount of new material, it may be wise to put a rod in there, as opposed to just letting it sit on some of that new dirt.
Yeah, I think the dirt will be set up in a couple of weeks enough to, and by the time we put water in, it'll probably be frozen, so we'll see.
Let's
But
hope
yeah,
it doesn't rain like it has been.
yeah, I know. That's why I want to go down this Friday and try to flatten some stuff out, because hopefully it'll have dried out a little bit and clean it up. All right, we'll pick a date, see.
did we reach out to Primex to get a definition of hockey, or did we not go there?
I can still do that. Haven't done it yet.
Do you think it,
I don't know. I'm not
Okay.
sure if they're gonna budge on it, but
anything else on the ice rink?
Well,
I did think today, do we maybe want, you had your shovel, it worked really, really well. Like, do we want to use some of that money to pick up 1 or 2 of those, so it's not you personally,
Oh,
your scraper thing?
yeah, those shovels are great. Could do that.
Where did you get it from?
Ben Franklin sells them, I think you can get them online too. I think they're called snow plows.
Did you see it, or we can email it to you?
yeah, if you can send me a picture of it, I can get it.
Plastic. They have them in different widths, I think 2 feet, 3 feet, maybe even 4 feet wide.
Okay. Yours is 3?
It was like 3, yeah. That's perfect for pushing the snow on the ice.
let's go for the weekend of the 13th to try to
13th
set
is
it
better
up.
for you?
But I'm just picking a date,
Well, if it gets rained out too, we can push it back
get
to
the next one,
week.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking too, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I think trying for Saturday, we might get more help. I know you may not be able to come in for it, but,
Okay.
or Sunday, I can do either one.
Okay. Tailgate trick or treat recap.
So I think overall it was a successful event. I think it was easily the most we've had in attendance, especially after instituting the parking pass piece. About 300 cars, or a little over, and I estimate about 1,000 people in attendance, so. We had great weather. We got done probably 15 minutes earlier than we allotted time for, which was good. People settled in, which usually happens every year, I think. And we only turned 1 non-resident away, so that was good. I think, you guys were there too. What did you guys think?
That was
Yeah.
great.
Very good.
Did you get my pictures?
No. Your email? I didn't get them.
I took a video, but it's too big for me to send it to you.
Oh,
I took
yeah.
a video of that long line. The line went
Oh,
all the way.
Up the hill to get in?
no, the
just
kids,
For the.
Oh,
you
Costume
know, to
parade.
start
from the
Yeah, yeah.
road, almost out to the gate.
Yeah, it was huge.
It was
that's
long.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thought it was well done. But kids had a good time.
And I think the 8th grade fundraiser went really well too.
Yeah.
Did they make some money?
They sold all their hot dogs, or, yeah, I think they
Oh, wow.
sold all their hot dogs. So
Awesome.
Basketball season update.
So registration was launched last Friday, October 29th. We have it set to close November 12th. We did get the blessing of the school to use the court and invite outside towns to come in. Now it's just a question of what the masking policy is gonna look like throughout the season, which is why I'm gonna leave a little early tonight to go over to the school board meeting and see if they have any progress on that. So I think outside of that, that's where we're at right now. We have registration open for all three levels. Pre-KK, the grades 1, 2, and the grades 3 through 8 is usually how we break it down. We have a few in each one, but we'll have a better indication of what we're gonna look like for teams, probably closer to the 12th is when we're gonna close. And we'll see how it goes. But ready to launch and start competing against other towns again. I think that's it's gonna be a good thing for the program as a whole.
They allowing spectators?
They are, yep. Everybody in the gym as of right now has to be masked, including the players, which is what we're trying to get a little bit of leeway with, but.
Even while playing?
Yes, so the school, they have volleyball going right now, and they don't have to mask up, but the age of the kids, they're older, and I think they have the vaccines available to them right now, which is the whole premise of why the school is keeping the mask mandate on right now, is because the vaccines are not available to kids younger than, 12, which is pretty much our whole group of rec basketball kids, so.
Well, but I think it's gonna be by the
Maybe
time
it'll
the
change.
season starts.
Right.
So,
Well, that's the hope. So we kind of rolled out registration as, expect to wear a mask while playing, but we're hoping that it changes. So,
How's the league looking? Do you think you'll be able to have a schedule?
yeah, I think so. I think all towns are kind of in the same boat. They want to play at whatever cost it is against each other again. I know like a couple of the towns know that they won't have to wear masks, and some of them do. So there might be a little bit of crossover there. If you visit a certain town, you might have to wear the mask, you might not.
But they're gonna have programs.
Yes, yeah, most of them will. I think one or two of them bowed out. Northwood, I think, isn't gonna have a program, and Chester. Chester was going to be allowed to have one with masks, but their parents decided that they weren't gonna go for that. So, yeah, I mean, it's just preference and who you're trying to get signed up and what they want. So.
Are you opening up, like, the Northwood kids to?
Hadn't thought of that, actually, but that's a good call.
Yeah, because I think a lot of them were looking at Candia, and I suggested Deerfield's closer than Candia for them.
Sure. That might be something I just run by the school board tonight, too. I mean, we're gonna have players coming in from other towns anyway, but just to have them in here a couple extra nights a week, too. But.
Anything else on basketball? Veterans Day Remembrance.
Okay, Veterans Day is set for next Thursday, November 11th. We usually do this the same way every year at 11 o'clock in the morning on 11/11. Kind of recognize the veterans in town. Everyone's welcome to come do that. We're going to do it for the second straight year at the gazebo field, outdoors event. Yeah, and we'll just kind of follow our typical outline. We invite the American Legion, all the scouts come out and just recognize the vets in town. So that's 11/11 at 11 in the morning. That's really all I got for that.
So we might want to be mindful of the mud pit.
Right.
It's all indoors, isn't it?
No, it's outside.
It's outside. We do it around the gazebo, but I think there'll be enough space in front. Jeff made a mess.
Maybe you could make like a walkway with flags or something, like
Yeah.
those little ones.
We
like,
could
to keep
definitely rope
people-
it off or
something, yeah, rope it off.
bring the stanchions out or something. Just
At least rope off as much as you can.
One suggestion, I don't know if it'll fly or not, maybe when you open it to like ask if they want to speak, it seems like people are like, one guy always speaks and then everyone else is like at a loss. Like, so maybe if you just simplified it and said like, give us your name and where you serve,
Sure.
like maybe more people would, because it's always just like, I want to hear the stories, but people don't feel
Right.
comfortable
Right.
open-ended like that.
Yeah, I think last year was tough too, because it was all outside and
It was hard to hear
hard to
people,
hear
people were
people talking,
masked,
and
yeah.
when it's indoors, it's usually a really good thing at the town hall.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of people talk, and a couple of them will share stories and stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool
It
to
is
hear
pretty cool.
their history.
Yep, so.
Anything, sit with Santa?
So we have that locked down, waiting on contract details, but we do have a Santa set up for Sunday, November 28th, which is the Sunday after Thanksgiving, 2 to 4, and the fireman's parade will follow, as it typically does. We'll run it just the same way we did last year. Mr. and Mrs. Claus will be roped off at the gazebo, just for COVID precaution. And, yeah, I mean, we'll just run it the same way. I think it went well. I wasn't unfortunately there last year, but I think those that were thought it was a
Good.
success, so.
Holiday decorating contest.
Okay, so Erica brought this one up. So I went back, the last one we did was in 2018. I think we stopped due to a lack of participation. We just didn't have addresses or people that had committed to it, so we didn't really know where to send people. But I think we can take another stab at it a couple of years later. I know we stopped doing rides, I think the year before that. It was like an ADA concern. We had a couple of older people with us that couldn't really get in and out of the van, so that's kind of out now. But willing to take another shot at it. We'll do some judging. I don't know if you guys want to be a part of the judging, we can do that. I don't know if there's like an online way we can get people to contribute to that too, maybe. If we enter addresses and get them to vote for their favorites and categories or something. Yeah, we'll give away a few prizes. I think that's a cool way to drum up holiday interest in the community.
What if you took pictures? Like, you mean, someone went around, got photos, maybe at night or something, and we posted them on
Ooh, that's a good
the
one.
page?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
Just saying,
think-
here's all the different
yeah, you know how
addresses and.
The PTO did that contest, so they had all the, and then I think, was it a Google form, or how did we vote? I forget, but
Mm.
there was a way to vote.
They're not doing anything, PTO? Has some other group done a decorating contest? I don't. All right, other business, review of the rec commission bylaws.
I don't know who wants to lead that conversation.
Yeah, well, I think, I'll start it up. We've had some discussion lately with people getting done and, what the purpose of the commission is, now that we have a director and assistant director. The only department in town that has a commission, that has a director and an assistant. So we talk about eliminating the commission. Do we really need it? Is it something worthwhile? Is it, what is our purpose? And I know we spent, and Terry spent a lot of time on bylaws, which was great, and it's helpful. And I think what Dwight and I and Nick and John Harrington have met about this, and we kind of came up with, it's still necessary. It's still helpful to the director, and we'd like to keep it going at some level. But we thought maybe, I don't know if you simplify it. So the two things we were talking about changing the bylaws was the number of members. Reduce it to a minimum of 5. I think right now it says 7. And then also it says monthly meetings, and we talked about going to quarterly meetings. Just to simplify and maybe to keep people more interested in being on board. And each member would have a specific, I don't want to say sport, but a specific item to be working with. Have basketball, baseball, Old Home Day maybe, or special events or something like that. So I think in the years, and we've also had trouble getting people, it's hard to get people to join and to commit to it. So that's kind of where we're that's my idea of it. I don't know if you want to say anything, Dwight, or people have questions or comments?
Yeah, well, we talked about this, and then we asked for the meeting with Nick and John. We weren't quite sure, what Nick's feeling was about this. Obviously, we're gonna bring this to the rest of the board, but number one is, what does Nick see this, the purpose of this group, and is it working? Does he need it? Does he not need it? And he seemed like he really feels it's important to him and to the department to keep this group in place. But I think he agreed that, we need to narrow the focus a little bit, maybe not have as many people on it. The meeting quarterly was okay with him, and just try to have the people that are on the commission just pretty much focused in certain areas. So, I think we're glad to hear Nick's take on that.
Yeah, I think, just improving the efficiency of it all is, I think, the goal. If we're meeting, every month and it's just like a couple of updates or here or there, I think we can better place and use our resources, I think, is the gist of my opinion of it. I think the commission is huge in every community for support to the recreation departments. So I certainly was not in favor of sending it away and at all. So I think just looking at the role of the commission and just making sure any incoming members understand what the commitments are and, what it is as an advisory role to the department, and having that support going forward, I think is important. So I think it was good that you guys brought it together and, asked for the meeting to kind of look at what it is that the commission does and what it's going to do for us going forward. So I think just taking an honest look at the bylaws, and reassessing, the meetings, and do we need as many meetings? Or do we need a 10-person commission all the time? Yeah, it's just something to look at.
So, from my standpoint, looking at why we've lost people in the past, it's always been family commitments, outside commitments. So I
Sure.
think cutting back on the schedule of meetings would be a great idea. And then, I think we could probably do stuff through email if we have anything that we need to kind of discuss unofficially. But I think the other side of the coin is in terms of getting less people on it. It seems like we need a lot of people to do a lot of these things. And so if we're just saying, let's cross our fingers that we get a bunch of volunteers on those days, I don't know if that's going to hurt us.
I think to answer that, part of the suggestion was each committee would have a group of people they could call on.
Okay.
Sort of like Katie had set up for cleaning the rink. You had half a dozen people or something, you send that email out, we gotta get the snow off the rink this week, who's available? And maybe people would commit to that, knowing it's not a real heavy commitment, but, Old Home Day's coming, we need half a dozen people. So that was part of our
I think
idea
that would be
of
my one concern, is that there's 5 of us on the committee and 3 of
Yep.
us can't make it,
Yep,
so.
that's a good concern.
Yeah, that's a big part of what Nick needs from us is obviously the labor for these various different events, so I think he's gonna be actively involved in putting together a list as well, so.
Yeah, and we talked about setting up a friends group for this type of thing.
Yeah, maybe not, we know you can't serve on the commission, but can we call on you for A, B, and C and get a list of people that we can send them email out if we
Right.
know something's coming up?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Serve without serving.
I think that a good example is the ice group. You could always get people to come help
Yeah.
shovel the ice, and,
Mhm.
and they were happy to do it, and
Because it was a very fixed
right there,
finite ask.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
if people get asked to help out here and there, it's different than
Yeah.
being asked every single time and shouldering all the responsibility onto you.
Mhm.
But, things like, if I think of, the ice rink is one thing, but if I think of like soccer or basketball or things like that, you could put together a group of parents that, might want to do commission or the concessions
Mhm.
or, whatever it is that you need and maybe draw on the community a little bit more than we have been. We've been drawing on this group
Mm.
and maybe being able to reach out. Because I think, from my standpoint, I think that's how we help you. We're the connection to the community. And so if we can help kind of bring that aspect to you, that might be helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you have any idea how other towns that have employees, directors, what structure do they have? Like what,
It's pretty common that they have a 5-person commission.
5-person board?
Yeah, that's
commission?
usually the foundation of it, but everyone reaches outside of that to get help for events and, special projects and things like that, so. I mean, I think, if you did vote in to change those 2 things, I think that would, make us more consistent with other communities. A lot of them don't have larger commissions like that, and, again, I think it's an efficiency thing, and, if you're meeting too many times, more times than you need to in a given year, that could be unattractive, or it could be too much of a commitment for people that would otherwise want to help. So I think just, reassessing the expectation of it and putting out there as what it is, and hoping to get strong support.
And relative to the financial end of things, I think would be a good idea to continue to get this out on a monthly basis.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Who knows? I have to do it every month. Thanks, Dwight.
This is valuable, Erica, you do a great job. Instead of visiting this every quarter, it might be good, it could spur on some discussion that can happen outside of the normal course of the meetings.
Eric, on your note, I forget who the woman was, but we had people at the end of the year when we were barbecuing who had said if we needed more help, that someone would help organize the parents to take care of the snack shack during soccer, right? Someone offered to do a calendar, like the high school does with their soccer for their boosters. So this year, we had a few parents say they'd come and help. So I think that was one of the things that, if you have already sent out the survey, maybe I'll send a follow-up email, just asking people who would be interested for some of the planning in the off-season, just to get them involved, because if there's a parent that'll take care of organizing parents for the snack shack, that's huge.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a big weight off our shoulders for sure. It's always a struggle to get volunteers in that capacity.
Yeah, and they offered, didn't even ask.
Yep.
Do we have a copy of the bylaws here tonight?
I don't have it with me. We can get it out. I might have it here.
We should,
I do.
some motions and go.
I mean, I put some chicken scratch on it though, I don't know. I think okay, so it's Article 3, Section 1, I think that I placed these changes properly. Based on the questions or the suggestions that were in there. Members shall be selected and approved by the DPRC before being appointed by the Board of Selectmen to 3-year terms with 1/3 of those expiring each year. DPRC will consist of 10 members, exclusive of the Select Board representative described below. I just make a note, reduce to 5 members minimum.
It would be minimum, we could still have more.
You could still have more, of course, but just have the minimum at 5. And I added, have the liaisons to fall sports, spring sports, winter sports, special events, and our childcare programs, I think are the 5 big ones.
Yeah,
We can-
finance.
If we can get, 5 minimum members and
Got
each
that.
one to focus on one of those in finance. So that was one. And then Article 5, Section 1, DPRC meetings shall be held at least once monthly on a regular recurring schedule whenever possible. I wrote 6 times per year, or bi-monthly, or we could do quarterly, whatever the group feels is most important. And then add meetings as we see fit. So just give us the flexibility to throw an extra meeting in if there's a big event coming up, or, whatever we need. So,
Okay, so, a motion?
I'll take that.
Sure, we,
Which one? Is it for quarterly or?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask too.
I was just thinking, if we do quarterly, it would force you to be more disciplined and organized as to what's coming up over the next 3 months, because we'd have to talk about it,
Sure.
in a meeting now.
Yep.
So I guess I would
Well,
look to you to,
I mean, in some ways, it may be helpful, because if we have the summer meeting, we know that we're gonna be planning for soccer then. You know what I mean? So we're not waiting till
yeah.
right before soccer season starts, so it may get us, it may force us to be a little proactive.
Right.
But I mean, I think having one before each season, focusing on that season out
Right.
is the way to do it.
Yeah, and I would say, pre-COVID, we would always look at things 3 months out anyway in the department. It's been hard to do that, knowing that our facility availabilities and all these different types of things are changing, and they affect our registration, but, once we get back to normal or closer to normal, that's what we want to do anyway, is, be looking 3 months ahead at least.
It's essentially like your I'm just thinking months-wise, Q4 would be baseball, right? You'd have to be teed up essentially at the end of Q4 for baseball for the year. And if we do registration for soccer in May, that would be Q2, right? At the end of Q1, you would have that meeting. So you definitely have to be proactive, have all that stuff teed up at least a couple months in advance.
But this does not preclude Nick from sitting with the representatives of the different sports on a more frequent basis prior to
Right.
kicking things off for the different sports. So we could do that. So I guess maybe we could make a motion on Article 3 membership, Section 1. Currently, it says DPR will consist of 10 members exclusive of the select board representative. So we could change that to the DPRC will consist of a minimum of 5 members exclusive of the select board representative. Liaisons to soccer, basketball, baseball, softball, special events, and then after school and summer camp, and finance. With the approval from the Board of Selectmen, the total number of members may be adjusted from time to time to correspond with the contemporary number of interested volunteers. And then it goes on to say a minimum of 7 is desired, so we can change that to a minimum of 5 members is desired to allow reasonable representation of the community. And a representative of the Board of Selectmen will also be part of the membership, so we'll have that in addition to minimum of 5. So I make a motion that we change the wording there to what I just said.
Second. And that's Article what? I just wrote.
3-1.
Article 3, Section 1, membership.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, next motion would be on Article 5, meetings, Section 1. Currently, DPRC meetings shall be held at least once monthly on a regular recurring schedule whenever possible. Make a motion, we change that to DPRC meetings shall be held at least quarterly, and we could identify the first Wednesday of the month at the beginning of each quarter, I suppose.
Yeah, looking at a calendar, I mean, if you said January, I mean, we should also say when this should take effect. So maybe we'll have to back up on that last vote. It should take effect either tonight, or do we go to December's meeting and start the first of the year? I think it might be smart to say the first of the year
Yeah.
it takes effect.
That
Yeah,
sounds
because I
good.
think there's language in there that says the bylaws will be reviewed annually or something.
Okay.
Do you want to have it the first Wednesday? How long does it take you to close your quarter? Like, do you mean, would you want it the second Thursday, the third Thursday, Wednesday, just so that you can close your quarter out and have the finances?
He usually has it out within the first couple of days.
You'd have to see who's in here too. There may be conflicts for meeting here. Other committees and stuff meet. But I was just looking at the calendar, so if you said January would be, and then February, March, then would be April, which would be good for baseball. May, June, July would be good for soccer. I mean, it kind of falls into what someone said about setup for the next season, so.
Right.
Okay.
So if you did that, so in April, you'd be planning Old Home Day, right? You wouldn't want to wait till,
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be on the agenda.
We'd start, right, and then
Yeah.
finish up in July,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But again, you'd have a committee that we could work
Yep.
in between to keep it going.
So how about if we say DPRC meetings shall be held at least quarterly on a regular recurring schedule whenever possible, and more frequently as the commission sees fit.
You want to say the first Wednesday of,
Well, I don't know, do we want to lock that down? The problem I found with the first Wednesday sometimes would be that it would be the first day. And sometimes the financial stuff wasn't quite ready. So, you know, I don't know, maybe we just leave the regular recurring schedule to Nick's discretion
okay,
at this point. But it would be good, you know, for you to come up with what you think is best, you know.
Right.
It would be best if it was a particular day of the week, you know, each time we meet. So everybody,
You could put something in there that says that it's within the first 3 weeks of the quarter, something like that. It's just saying it's happening at the beginning of it. That way it gives you a 3-week window or a 2-week window to,
first 2 weeks of the quarter. Yeah.
just that you get the finances done, but it's saying, you know, not gonna kick the can.
But do we need to be that specific in there, or just leave it? Did you make that as a motion?
I said quarterly, minimum quarterly on a regular recurring schedule whenever possible.
I'll second that.
Just leave it to Nick, but you understand the direction here, you know, maybe not the first particular day of the week, beginning of the month, but you know, at least within the first half or 3 weeks of the month.
Right.
And that, I mean, it might be something that we can sit down at the January meeting and to see what's it looking like for April for everybody, and
Yeah, true.
Right.
Yeah.
Lay out the
sometimes
next
it
meeting.
falls
Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
holiday or, you know,
Yeah.
so.
Sometimes
so why don't we leave it
snowed
as-
with something and
Yeah.
we'll have to move it to the next week.
At least quarterly on a regular recurring schedule whenever possible.
Right.
Sure.
And we'll figure that out as we go along, I guess.
So moved by Dwight and seconded by Jeff to amend to Article 5, Section 1. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Last motion would be to have this occur, starting at the beginning of next year.
Effective January 1st, 2022. Seconded by Jeff.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah.
All right. Any other business, public comments?
Just a quick update on warrant articles. I don't know if you guys were aware of the 3 that we're going forward with, right? Do you want to just quickly brief?
I was gonna put that on here. So we had 3. We had the vehicle one for a department truck or van. I think at the last meeting, we wanted to bump that up from 10,000 to 15. Do we think that's, and it was a match, it was a 50-50 match. So if we put in 7,500, the town, if we, you know, give and take. Is that,
Wasn't
I
that
think
gonna
we were
be a
looking to see if
trust,
that
too?
was enough money. Did you look around and see if,
I mean, I found a couple of things for 10, but you guys seem to think that that's probably not gonna do it.
Didn't we talk about doing it as the irrevocable trust too? And vehicle,
Oh, yeah, we did mention that
we're
after
gonna
the fact.
change it to that,
Yeah.
so that we could put money into it if you didn't find anything this year.
Right, and it would also cover other things like lawnmowers
Mowers and
and,
stuff, right?
yeah, which I think is a great idea, because we don't have another resource for that.
Right. I think that's what we talked about
Right.
last.
Okay, so that's that one. We had a field maintenance one. I think
So how much was that one? 15?
that's what the suggestion was after the last meeting.
And that's a 50-50 with, and it's taxes already raised, there's no money, what's it called? It's just like
Unassigned,
unassigned, thank
Fund
you,
balance.
unassigned fund balance money would be put into there, so no taxes raised this year for it. We've already paid for it. I think that's what all of these were.
Believe so, or they were trust funds.
Hmm.
Right. There was a field maintenance trust fund. Oh, well, it wasn't just field maintenance, it was field maintenance, it was court maintenance. All the above, really. So, you know, mulching, infield mix, court resurfacing, tree trimming, it all adds up pretty quick. I had it pegged at 25,000, just because I think everything came out to about 14 with increases, and I wasn't sure, I hadn't heard back from anybody about the court resurfacing yet. Last time we had it done, I think it was between 7 and 8,000. So if that went up, we're looking probably around 10,000.
Yeah, but don't forget, I mean, Harvard Brook's getting pretty bumpy. That hasn't been regraded at all.
Right.
The infield or
That's,
the outfield?
that wasn't even accounted
Oh,
for.
the outfield, like, the softball outfield's just, it's anthills and it's 4 or 5 inch differences in spots. It's, I guess it's all sand under there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty rough. When, I mean, like, when we mowed it, when they weren't coming, like, you were scalping in sections and 3+ inches high in others. It just,
Settled out.
yeah, it just needs to be pop the heads and then just throw material down and screen over the top of it, but still time and money.
Hmm.
Hopefully, I mean, time we can get some volunteers, but money, you still need the material. Just before that goes to hell.
So I think with the court resurfacing, if we do that this year, along with the other items I have in that Excel spreadsheet, I can send it out to you guys. That in itself is almost 25,000. So that's where I got that number from. And then if we were to do something at Hartford Brook, I mean, it is kind of a wreck, especially after soccer season. But, yeah, that was the second article. And then the third one was for a trust fund for a facility, like an indoor facility, a longer term project, much bigger picture project, to have in Deerfield. And I think that was for, what did we peg that one for? It's escaping me right now. 20,000?
500,000?
15 or 20.
$500,000 would get done.
It's a start, Jeff, it's a start.
Oh, no, that's just right.
But it will allow donations, so if you want to kick the best in, you can, happy to.
The name sponsor's up for grabs. Title sponsor.
Jeff Shoot Facility,
It's already been mentioned.
D'Agostino Youth Rec Center.
Correctional Center.
Correctional.
Correctional.
So, I guess my thing would be is if you're looking at that, I almost would pop in another 10K onto the,
You gotta go too.
on the field maintenance
I do, thank you.
one, just because if you're looking at doing that, that was something that I heard from parents, like, when they asked why we were doing the, snack shack, and I just said it's used to raise money, because, you know, we have to cover all these other costs. That was one thing that parents, their minds were blown at how stuff was actually paid for. And so I guess the take-home I had from talking with parents this fall was that Park and Rec really needs to do a better job of letting everybody in town know where the money goes to, prior to these articles going out, like who pays for Santa, who pays for Old Homes Day, who pays for trunk or treat, whatever, right? Like, that it's coming out of kids' tuitions, right?
So I'd ask those parents, how's the better way to get to them?
To what?
That's the whole issue.
Communicate.
How do you communicate?
Well, they're not watching these meetings, because I said you could watch it, and they're like, nope. And so,
They're not looking at Facebook, they're not reading the meetings, they don't have Twitter, they don't, how do we go door to door and say, hey?
but I think if we had a really clear breakdown of like, here's the money that was spent, here's the things that brought money in, and so,
Which happens for other departments in the report, the annual report, when we just don't have that visibility.
we don't, yeah, it's not there, but it's, I mean, you can take that and just
Put
pull
something
it out.
together.
Because they were like, when I told people that
Not
your
getting fun.
salary is covered, but only half of his was covered, and lawn mowing had to be paid for with tuition, and the porta potties now had to be covered because we don't have access to the building, and people were like, oh, wait, the town doesn't pay to mow, and I'm like, they don't pay for the fields to mow. And some parents are like, well, why does sports have to pay to mow that, but the town mows everything else, why doesn't the town just pay to mow? I'm like, well,
Have they ever voted for budget?
I don't know.
See,
But
I'm
gonna
being,
get out of
I'm
here
being
on that
very
note.
cynical.
Good luck.
I'm being very cynical, I'm sorry. It's
So,
in here.
so Jeff, to answer that, most of the parents were new, what I
Thanks,
would
Nick.
call newer parents.
Thanks.
Like
Thanks,
they had
Nick.
kids first, second, third, fourth grade. So not families that have been around forever, but it was interesting to hear that, you know, I don't know where they moved from, and a lot of them were Hartford parents. They just thought that the town was paying to mow all that, and I'm like, no, we have to cover that in
Yeah.
costs of our programs. And so I guess my take home is if you laid that out,
We can lay it out, but how do you, where do you put it?
Facebook, I mean, I guess you have to start there, put it in the town, that book. I don't know if we can have it itemized out in the book.
You can do it in the town warrant,
Or,
which
yeah,
goes
when-
out at, you know, just before, well, it goes out, people pick it up when they vote, but they don't look at it before.
But if it's in, I mean, could it be in there?
I think it needs to be, I think you need to take a step back and have it be in a very digestible, think about the messaging, because you're saying these things, but I'm also saying, well, there's $77,000 sitting there in an account.
That's,
What, like, we need to have a holistic
right.
communication
agree.
strategy, I think, before we start laying out
People-
all the,
No,
Yeah.
100% agree. It's
Yeah.
all about marketing.
yeah.
Because, yeah, you see that's there, but if you look at, what's that, 2 months burn rate? 3 months burn rate, right? With after school, I mean, I forget what it was, but it wasn't a ton of money, like,
No, it's not a lot, I mean, but
It's a
other,
lot when people see a pot of money sitting there.
Yeah, well, remember what it used to be?
Well, what if we,
Pre-COVID?
I guess what's the goal is for them to understand
well, it's just, I mean, I think there's.
how
one
we
is-
operate, which is what all those posters are supposed to be, like, to engage the community and help them understand how their government functions.
And I think one thing that we did when we were selling the school was we did neighborhood, like coffee clutches, and Hartford Book would be a great area, have someone up there volunteer to, look, have people come to our house, and we'll have a selectman's rep, a rep from Parks, and, you know, people come in and explain.
well, what if we did something where, you know, it gets sent out that basketball registration's opening this date, and then, you know, you have the prices, and then you just put a hyperlink in there and say if you're, you know, worried about, or you have questions regarding where your tuition goes to, click on here, and it can be a link to some other page that kind of spells that stuff out.
Mm-hmm, that's a
You
good
know, the
idea.
additional costs of refs and court time and,
Or even have stuff posted at the concession stand. You could have a pie chart or have something.
Yeah, I mean, you could incorporate it into every event that we have, whether it's the Sit with Santa or the, you know, because you hit different populations of the town with a lot of these events.
I mean, I think, to your point, there's a communication strategy. I think there's one that's a use of funds, right? And that's kind of how I was looking at it from soccer, is I was asking, is all our money in there? Because there's a use of funds part, and it's showing this is what we have, but this is also what we budgeted in for future capital improvement, which is new goals or this or that, right? But, oh, by the way, there's 2,000 off the top that has to be, that goes out to pay for mowing, for porta potties, for security system on a building that you don't use, like, you know what I mean, like, just, sorry, that was a little snarky. That, this is your fixed cost in the system, and that, but then I think there's the programs that, that don't have tuition coming in, and then saying, so how is this paid for? This is after-school kids' tuition, this is summer camp kids' tuition, this is sports tuition, right? Because I think that was the eye-opening part of, like, of almost having something saying, here's unfunded programs supported by kids, right? And it's kind of a little pithy title that you have there, that these are unfunded town programs that, you know, make sure you thank your preschool kid for funding your programs, because these aren't funded through your taxes, but just like a campaign that's something like that, that would be kind of eye-opening, that like, hey, thank the kid next door for paying for that for you. And
Again, what's the campaign?
it's a campaign, however you have it, it's a campaign to basically get
I
the warrant
understand,
articles
I understand,
done.
what's the campaign? how are you gonna get it out there?
Medium
Yeah.
to do it,
What's the medium?
flyers, email.
It sounds like web content, or like someone needs to develop, like
Like,
Brian
I
was
think-
describing, like,
A
yeah.
link to,
I think there's web content, I think it's through an email. I mean, we have the distribution lists, right? That with all the sports, you already have them, and you can have basically your link right there, send out the broadcast email.
just an
Right.
FYI on how your dollars are spent and what it,
And you could do, this is a really good time going into year end.
Yeah.
You could do a snapshot of 2020.
right,
Here's,
before the budget season, before the vote and stuff.
yeah.
And I think that's where you can write in, just especially for parents, just saying, hey, look, after school, you know, sports, you know, we're trying to keep your tuitions down. I don't know if you're aware that your tuition's funding all these other events that aren't directly related to that. And that's why it's really important for you to vote yes here, here, and here. Like, that's kind of how, I mean, think about how many parents that you can get on your side because they realize that their kids' after-school tuition is paying for these other programs or sports tuition.
But does that mean that their after-school tuition would go down if they voted for it?
Ask those questions.
But that's what,
That's gotta be a response, right?
It means it might not go up as fast.
well, if I was looking at it, I'd say, well.
Well, it may
why
be.
am I paying for all that stuff?
It might be able to. We
But
don't
the
know.
other
I
side
mean,
of that is it's so cheap,
Right.
the after-school
Yeah.
programs.
Basically, market, yeah.
It's-
or I
But
guess a
then
better
you
way
might
to,
get pushback when we do wanna have an increase, like we recently had an increase,
Right,
you know, cause of COVID and all that kinda stuff, but.
so I guess I would push back and say, well, actually what it does is it frees up money that we haven't had to help improve the program and make things better, to create a better product for your child. But right now, we don't have those resources because it gets used on other items. Right? I think it's just how you word it. But it basically, at the end of the day, it means we have more resources to put into that program. Right?
you keep the cost down.
Yeah, we can keep the cost down and have more resources to improve your programs for your kids.
Cause the other
I think
thing,
it's
part
a
of,
positive.
yeah, the other part of the budget is, I think Nick included in the budget itself, Eric's other half of his salary, so his would be paid fully out of the budget. And it was
Town budget?
$3,200 or something for Old Home Day.
Mhm.
I think that was it.
I think that was it.
So again, it's just,
But it, I mean, the budget looks a little bleak.
well, the budget's down.
I thought it was up from.
Well, it's-
the-
it's-
The perennial negative person online. I thought it was way up.
The budget went up, but tax rate went down, so you won't see a large increase, from what I understand. But that hasn't mattered for 8 years, or whatever
Right.
it's been. So,
Tax rate went down a little over 5%, I think.
mhm.
But the assessing went up 30, so.
Well, that already happened, so
Oh, okay.
going forward, what happens with the budget, the percent change should be a direct impact, really, on your tax bill, I think.
I mean, it takes a lot, I mean, it's $500,000 on the
Budget.
budget to change your tax rate $1. So, you know, people talk about cutting $20,000 out of the budget.
$1 per 1,000.
Yeah.
So,
So anyhow, but I mean, I'd love to figure out how to get this word out to these new families.
I think it's starting with the parents that are involved in the program, right? We have emails, we have the contacts. I mean, and that's where you start the push in the education. And because they're the ones that are directly affected, right?
Mhm.
And I think it's just, I think it's a positive story to it is that if we can get these approved, we will have more resources, keep the costs down, but have more resources to put back into the program to continue to improve our offerings for your kids. I just think that's a group that it would resonate to. I mean, soccer alone, we have, what, 160 kids in that, right? And then you have other kids in basketball and softball and baseball and summer camp and after school, right?
It's a great idea. I've even talked about doing a mailing out to people. We suggested that. Do a 3-sided flyer that we did for playground fundraisers and actually mail it to every family in town.
You just need the content, sounds like, then you
Right.
can go to town with it. Literally, no pun intended.
I'll take it. Oh.
Eric, you see the financials, are they detailed enough that we could pretty easily tease that out?
As to what goes to what program? I mean, the issue is like all the stuff that gets allocated. So the facilities, the vehicle, all that kind of stuff gets allocated to the different programs. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I know, I mean, tease that out. I know part of it is, like, we tried to keep track of stuff like paint at the end of last year. We had a ton left over pretty much
Yeah,
for the
I don't,
year. But yet, we had to buy more this year, so I'm like, where did it disappear to, right? Because, I know softball used it and stuff, so that's part of it is like some stuff goes places. I don't know if we can capture it all.
I
know-
think Nick has a better handle on that. I see the big buckets and you get all the expenses, but I don't know what, I mean, looking at a little line description of what something is, it's hard to know what it was for.
Ask him about that.
To be continued for December?
Yeah.
All right, anyone else have anything else?
Yeah, one more quick thing. The next 2 meetings, there will not be a representative from the select board because I'm gonna take that position. At least for the next 2 meetings. Beyond that, see where that goes.
You won't be here for the next two?
No, I'll be here, but I will be the representative, so there won't be
Taking
another
Alden's.
individual
Correct.
from the select board. Yeah.
So you'll be the new select board rep.
For at least a couple meetings, anyway.
And then what, you vote on new ones?
First of the year. they do.
After the election, there'll be somebody else in there, so there would be a new representative from the select board at that
Which
time.
could be you though, right?
When he runs for select.
Yeah,
Oh, you have to run for selectmen, so this is just a temporary appointment?
yes, yeah. About 6 months, I think, till the next election.
So why are you only gonna be our representative for 2 meetings? Why not 6?
We'll start the new process in January, so
The numbers person trying to connect the dots.
I'll be the rep in December and January, and then probably in April.
April wouldn't it? Something different.
Well, you're only gonna have a quarterly meeting starting in January anyway,
I mean, so
Oh,
Your January
I
to
see,
April.
that's right.
so maybe at the April meeting, we'll be in.
Got it.
Or something like that.
I can remember what numbers I use each week.
Okay, thank you.
You're gonna,
Oh, you know quantities.
Yeah, so you pretty much-
Make a motion to adjourn.
Well,
second.
Moved by Jeff Shute, seconded by Brian Fisher to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
um,
Meeting is adjourned.
That's gonna come up.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
See you next month.
Hold on, what am I doing?
Gonna run if he's
If
gonna
you
win.
want.